Hi, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be doing a Q&A video. These are all questions that were asked on Facebook when I was doing a live video the other day. That video was over 45 minutes long, so I'm not going to be going through all of the things we went through in that video. I'm just going to go over some of the more basic questions, and I figured you guys probably wouldn't want a 45-minute long video of just like me answering weird questions, but I figured I would at least address some of them in this video. Also, for those of you who don't know, I now have a TikTok where I show off a lot of my snakes, and I post random corn snake facts on there all the time. So if you'd like to follow me there, it's Joy Princess Sarah on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram with Joy Princess Sarah, the same thing. I'll link those down below, as well as my website where I do have books and merch, and corn snakes will be coming available soon. So all of that will be in the description below. I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions that I got on the live video the other day. And one of them was, what's the difference between a RedFactor snow and a coral snow? The answer to this is there is none. RedFactor and Coral are somewhat interchangeable. RedFactor just means that it's a dominant gene that enhances the pinks and reds, and then Coral is a type of RedFactor. Cherry is also another type of RedFactor. So I did a video on that not that long ago. I will put that in a card above so you guys can go watch that. It's a morph deep dive on the difference between red coat and RedFactor, and I go over a lot of that stuff. Do I have to handle my snake constantly? That was one question that was asked. And the answer is no, you do not have to handle them constantly. In fact, I definitely don't recommend handling them constantly. They definitely need time away from people so that they feel comfortable in their space. You can maybe handle them a couple days a week here and there for maybe up to 20 minutes at a time. But this person was told, unfortunately told, that they needed to handle their snake like all the time, like multiple times a day. And the answer is no, you definitely do not have to handle your snake that much, and truth be told, your snake probably doesn't like that very much. The next question is, what happens if my snake regurgitates? I'm going to do a more detailed video on this probably in the future, but the short answer is you want to give them time away from food, and you also want to get Nutrabac. Nutrabac is it's a powder that has different nutrients and enzymes that when the snake throws up, all those like enzymes and everything from their gut that they use to digest comes out with the food as well. And when they lose all those enzymes and all that good bacteria, it's hard for them to digest the next meal, and so that can cause them to continue to throw up, and it also causes them to be dehydrated and stuff like that. So I highly recommend getting the powder Nutrabac, a little jar of it. It's kind of expensive, but it lasts a long time, and it could potentially save your snake's life. So I would definitely invest in that. When I say expensive, I feel like it was under $10 maybe. Of course, I bought mine a couple of years ago, and I keep it in the refrigerator for those who wonder. Like, I like to keep it just fresher like that. And then I mix it with a little bit of water. Get a pipette syringe. Pipette syringes do not have needles. They're just little pipes. And you can sort of inject that into the snake's mouth so that they can swallow the mixture of the Nutrabac and water. That will add the hydration that they need, as well as the enzymes that the Nutrabac provides. So that's going to be probably like the most useful thing out of this video. The next question was, does playing loud music stress them out? Loud music or loud movies? And the answer is yes and no. First of all, each snake is different. So every snake is going to have a threshold of stress that they can handle or not. Some of them are just more docile than others. If they're more used to it, it may not affect them as much. I would say if your music is so loud that it's actually like shaking their enclosure, that is going to stress them out. They don't have ears in the sense that we have ears. Like, we have outer ears where you can actually visibly see our ears. They have inner ears, so it's inside their skull, under their scales. So they do have hearing, it's just more muffled. It's not going to be the same as our hearing. So the music itself may not really bother the snake that much. And in fact, I noticed that my baby snakes actually, I have a higher percentage of the baby snakes actually feeding if I'm playing a music or movie in the room. I play it just on my phone though, or on another small device like a tablet, so it doesn't get very loud. So I think a little bit of stimulus is good. You don't want them to constantly be in a completely quiet place all the time. That's not really that good for them. But it's also not good for them if something is so loud that it's actually like shaking their enclosure, like they feel like they're in an earthquake. You don't want that. The next question is, what happens if my snake is constipated? And this person in particular said that their snake was constantly hanging out in the cool side of the enclosure, even though the warm side was like 84 to 86 degrees, which is pretty okay for a warm side, and then the cool side was maybe down in the 70s, and constantly hanging out under the water bowl. Well, what happens, what my hypothesis was, and it kind of turned out to be true, is that the snake is in a cool area sort of waiting for water. Even though the snake had a water bowl, a lot of baby snakes are not smart enough to understand what a water bowl is and to go drink out of it. When snakes are in the wild, they will often drink water droplets off of leaves. They will, if they run into a pond and a river by happenstance, then they might drink out of that. But most snakes are not trained to go upward and then go down to drink water. It's just not a natural thing for them to do. So definitely introduce your snake to the water bowl. Make sure your snake knows where the water is. Kind of put their face in it. And when I say put their face in it, don't drown them in it, obviously, but kind of put them in there so they know that that's where water is, and have them drink it. And that will help cure the constipation for sure. And you could also try heating up the entire enclosure a little bit more. Maybe make the entire enclosure at the lowest 80 to 81 degrees. They don't necessarily need a cool spot that's 75. I keep all of my snakes at ambient temperature of 82 degrees, and sometimes that'll fluctuate down to 80, and then it might go up to like 83 or 84, just because that's just how air works. But the snakes do not have a problem with always being the same temperature throughout their entire enclosure, at least when it comes to corn snakes. Remember, all of this information is corn snake information. I have had other species of snakes, but as far as the advice on this channel, this is corn snake stuff. So different animals are going to have different species are going to need different things. So take this for corn snakes, and maybe if you have a boa constrictor or a python or something like that, they're going to need something different. So just keep that in mind throughout this video. But as far as constipation goes, make sure your snake is drinking water. That's going to be the easiest way to get constipation to pass. And of course, you could always take your snake to a vet to help them pass the initial problem. And then after that, as long as they're drinking, they should be fine. I think probably the last question that I'm going to go over, like I said, there were a few different ones. The last question that I'm going to go over is information about Shatter. And that seems kind of random to me, but Shatter is a very interesting corn snake morph. It's a combination of Sunkissed and Cinder, and they're both very odd morphs, and they kind of work against each other. So a Cinder corn snake is going to have a Keys background, a Keys lineage. So Keys corns look very different from the Okatee corns, which is where the Sunkissed comes from. So Sunkissed is specifically an Okatee line morph, and then Cinder is specifically a Keys line morph. So when you mix those together, you're going to get weird results anyway. But then when you mix the genes themselves together in a combination, they sort of work against each other, like I said. So Cinder will often make the saddles thinner, and there will be more of them, whereas Sunkissed does the opposite. Sunkissed kind of makes the saddles bigger and more round, and there's often fewer of them. And Sunkissed is also known to be a hypomelanistic type, so that affects the color a little bit. And then even in het form, Cinder does affect the color and pattern a little bit. So because they're literally doing the opposite things to the pattern, like I said, the Sunkissed is making the saddles, instead of being like, kind of square, like that's kind of what a saddle would normally look like, the Sunkissed kind of pulls the saddles like this a little bit, and then as opposed to being square, the Cinder is going to kind of pull them together like this a little bit more. So they're literally doing the opposite thing, and when they come together in the Shatter morph, which is the combination morph, it just causes the pattern to go crazy and go all over the place because it doesn't really know what to do. So that's really the brief explanation of Shatter. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found it helpful. Leave a comment down below if there's any questions that you have that you want me to answer in a quick video like this. Like I said, all of this came from my Facebook when I did a live video. I do live videos probably once a month, so definitely check out my Facebook page. It's Sarah Snake Shop on Facebook. I'll link that in the description below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.